And do you know what my favorite thing to bake in the world is?
What is that, Jill?
Chocolate chip cookies.
I mean, they're so good.
Your
chocolate chip cookies are so good.
Thank you. They're just such a comfort food. But you know that a lot of the chocolate chips that are out there that are kosher are, even though they're dairy-free, they've gotten a dairy symbol on them.
Right, because of equipment.
Yes, because of equipment. So we can't use those anymore when we're making our par desserts. But my fellow Pittsburgher, Chani Schusterman, she created a company called the California Gourmet brand of chocolate chips. They are a delicious, all-natural, nut-free, allergy-friendly, dairy-free Belgian chocolate product. And of course, they're kosher.
And they taste great, whether it be in your favorite trail mix, chocolate chip cookies, desserts, chocolate mousse, energy balls. They melt well and they dip well too. They're also a healthy, all-natural chocolate treat, and you can even eat them out of the bag, and they're great as a midday energizer and motivator.
So check out californiagourmet.net for store locations. They are available also on Amazon, and follow them on Instagram at California Gourmet for great recipe ideas. Hello, and welcome to Let My People Eat, a podcast that provides satisfying talk about kosher nutrition. Here we clear through the clutter of nutrition speak, arm you with the clarity and confidence to eat, feel, and be your healthiest every day. I am Jill Sharfman, a board-certified holistic nutritionist living in Los Angeles.
And I'm Dr. Andrea Moskowitz, a neuroscientist and psychiatrist in Los Angeles. I use my training and experience to integrate positive lifestyle changes into my patients' lives.
Hey, Andrea.
Hey, Jill, how's it going?
It's going well. So I have a question for you. You know, I know you eat healthy. I know you take care of yourself. Right. Does your husband do the same? Is he on the bandwagon?
Oh, well, you know that. I mean, yes, he's more than on the bandwagon.
He's driving the train.
He built the bandwagon.
Right. So he eats a very healthy
Oh, yeah.
Diet.
Very, very, extremely healthy.
Okay. So my husband kind of, I do the cooking in the house. So he goes and eats whatever I prepare.
Right.
And he tries very hard to stick to, more healthy eating, making more healthy choices. But sometimes it's a struggle.
Right.
He has a lot of business things. He's out. He's not always maybe as careful as I would like him to be.
Right.
So I got an email. And this is what the woman wrote. She said, I'm learning so much from your podcast. It has really helped me, but I'm having trouble getting my husband to eat better as well. He's overweight, and I'm concerned about his health. He eats a lot of pizza. He overindulges on Shabbos. What tips and tricks can you give me to inspire him to have healthy eating habits? Thanks so much, Ellie. So this is a big topic.
Right.
So we brought
speak.
Right, exactly. So we brought in an expert. Our guest today is Leah Richeimer. She's the host of the Ladies Talkshow, known as Marriage Inspiration on Stilettos. It is a live weekly show, and you've never had so much fun learning about relationships in your life. Whether it's learning how to deal with a husband addicted to his phone or getting tips of how to get your emotional needs met, your love life will never be the same. Leah is an author, an international speaker, a podcast host, and the founder of the nonprofit charity, The Marriage Campaign. She teaches marriage tools that have a 3,000-year-old track record of success. Leah inspires us to connect more deeply and to have more meaningful and satisfying lives. We are thrilled to have her on our show. Hello, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure.
No, we're excited because we're hoping. I mean, I'm hoping that we're going to learn something that can have an impact on our lives and our marriages and our husband's health. So, is this a question you've been asked before?
Yes, and I love that lady who wrote the email, and keep those emails coming. That's awesome because it helps to know what is going on. And
right.
Yeah, 100%. It's a big issue. Especially if the wife is working super hard, it's like very frustrating if the husband isn't. It's like, right. You just want to So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So now the question that I come up with is first of all, I feel like this does become the wife's responsibility. She's the one who's concerned about his health. maybe, his weight gain, maybe he's not as attractive as he used to be. And this all could be vice versa, of course, also. So really, maybe we should entitle this How to Get Your Spouse to Eat Healthier. But how do we navigate this path without hurting anyone's feelings or hurting the marriage?
Yeah, it's fantastic. So this is very, very hard because women are, feel like got to micromanage everything in their house. What's what we're having for dinner, what every little aspect, where a kid's going to camp, what you're doing for vacation. A woman is in everything.
Right.
So it's really hard in this area to sort of take a back seat and say, really, what the husband eats, the truth be told, is in a sense, it's none of the wife's business. In terms of if she's wagging her finger at him, first of all, it's not her place. And second of all, it's for sure going to backfire. And I'll tell you why.
Okay. Right. First of all, I just want to say when I asked Leah for her 3 tips, this is what I got from her. Tips 1, 2, and 3. Zip your lip. Zip your lip, zip your lip.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, there's nothing good that will come from a wife nagging her husband to eat better. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem. If a man feels like he's super attractive, he'll be super motivated to take care of himself.
Okay.
If on the other hand, like you said, he's gotten unattractive, he's gained weight, he's whatever, and you say, dear, I really think you should eat healthier. You're saying what you think is you're saying it in a nice tone. Mm-hmm. You're saying it in a nice way. But what he is hearing is, sweetheart, you're simply not as attractive as you think you are. You're not as attractive as you used to be. And, your looks, they really just don't work for me.
Right. Yeah.
So no matter how you slice it, this guy is feeling bad on himself.
Right.
The first place he's going to go is to the double chocolate cake.
Right. Yeah, it puts more pressure on him, and he's he's probably going to do just the opposite of what you asked him to do.
Exactly the opposite, because a wife can, in one little look, in one little comment, can ruin her husband's self-esteem. And once that's gone, he doesn't care how he looks. It doesn't really matter. Like, no matter what, even if he tries, let's say he goes on a diet. Some guys, if they put on 30 pounds since marriage, or 50 pounds, whatever, that's a 2-year commitment to get it off. Mm-hmm. So if he loses 5 pounds, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be, okay, that's nice. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be good until he's back to the weight he was when he stood under the hood until he got married. So no matter what you do, it's a lose-lose situation. And, women, I think, make a big mistake when they take this upon themselves. Now, that does not mean that we sit back and say, here, would you like some chocolate chip cookies? I got you some chocolates. We have to use our Benia Sarah, our brain. We have to be very, very insightful, our women's intuition to get him. And I've got some ways that we can do that. Should I?
Yeah, please. Yeah, sure. Let's jump into it. I thought, okay, good. That's what we want to hear.
Good. So the listeners, if you grab a pen and paper right now, then you'll be able to, have your tips and techniques right at hand when you need them the most, because this is an emotional issue. Mm-hmm. We have emotions about our own weight, or about our own body image, about our own, these are things you talk about all the time about eating, Mm-hmm. So, but bringing them into our relationship with our husband and how we feel, and maybe our husband has treated us unkindly and said, I think it looks like you've put on some weight over the holidays. You're like, you want to. Any guy who said that, is not. I feel sorry for him. I'm sure the wife did not take that well. But if the husband has said mean things, then it comes back to now the wife. She's going to be all perfect and treat him. She wants to give him back a little bit of taste of his own medicine.
Right. Yeah.
Just as it failed with her, it'll fail with him.
Right. So actually any tips you're going to give us really just are applied to the marriage as a whole. So maybe you want to get him to eat healthier, but you also, even if you wanted him to help more around the house, these probably any advice you're going to give us now just can be used globally in a marriage.
Yeah, for sure. And the first one is, and this has to do with preparation for marriage, but this is specifically with food, is number one, eating healthy, super easy for him.
Okay.
So that's the top thing, is to make it easy. Like, in other words, if the potato chips are in the bottom drawer, easy right there, then he's going to go for that. If, on the other hand, you take the potato chips and you bring a ladder up and you go to above the fridge, and there's a cupboard up there, and you put the potato chips, and in front of the potato chips, you put a few baskets of other things,
right?
But the pots and pans in front of it, you make it hard for him to get to the potato chips,
right?
And then what you do is you take the bags of carrots, right? Bag of carrot is always good. Chopped up celery, cucumbers, things that are, peppers, things that can stay for a day or two, so that you're not making yourself crazy, but cut them up for him.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is going to make some women annoyed.
Right. I was just going to say, I can feel maybe, as much as somebody might want their husband to make these changes, that there could be some resentment that, why do I have to do this for him?
Right. But on the other hand, our husbands do things for us too.
Yes.
So, and we don't have to do the exact same things for them that they do for us. The other thing I was going to say, a friend of mine gave me this great advice many years ago when my kids were like maybe 1 or 2 years old. So she said to have in the refrigerator like a plate of cut up vegetables, peppers,
right,
and like what you mentioned,
mm-hmm.
and maybe a plate of like some washed off fruit or whatever. And that way, like when you're cooking and they want a snack, you can bring out something really healthy. And then they've had their vegetables or their fruit already, things like that. And it worked great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you're staving off that initial, they just want to crunch something.
Exactly.
They can just really, really, is it true that having, little, what are those things called? Popcorners. Those are good. It's kind of a little bit of more healthy snack. I don't know.
Right.
I'd love your opinion about it, but pop chips, they're better than potato chips, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or having like a bag of like Skinny Pop or,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So those things are better. Best is the vegetables and things. Right. When a kid or a husband is starving and they're crunching on a carrot, it can stave them off until dinner, and then they're a little fuller for dinner, so they don't gorge on a whole big plate of pasta. So, but it's making it easy for you. So here's some of the drawbacks to making it super easy for him. And you named the number one problem is resentment. Like, why am I doing this? And not only that, the problem with cut vegetables and healthy vegetables, they have a limited shelf life, whereas potato chips could be in the fridge, in the, the stale popcorn still tastes delicious, whereas if you sit there and you steam some broccoli, you put it you leave it in the bowl in the fridge with low fat dressing already poured into a container for dipping, and you have some peppers that you've cut and whatever, and you spent, let's say, half an hour of your life. Maybe it's only 15 minutes, but it always feels like it takes 2 hours to chop these things. But you chopped up the things, and then it's in the fridge. Nothing's missing from it. The next day, nothing's missing from it. Right. The next day, something's growing on it. It's very, very painful because you put all that effort, and it seems like nothing good came out of your effort. And so it's much harder to, this is easier said than done. Right. And yet, it happens to be the super best practices for getting your husband to eat healthy. And we're talking about your husband because that's more important. You're completely accountable. We know that if you take care of your husband, your children will be healthier in every way. So you want to start with your husband. Don't, I guess you can do your kids too, but I'm just saying, if you try and take on too much and get your whole family to do a whole revolutionary shift, good luck. It's in the too hard basket, where if you just make it, let me get my husband eating vegetables once a week. Mm-hmm. I'm going to chop vegetables on Mondays and Thursdays. Okay. And put it on your calendar. Maybe if a chopped tomato on Monday won't last till Wednesday, but a carrot will, and a cucumber will probably, and a celery. You have to use your best judgment. If it's sitting in the fridge the whole time, but you make that super easy for him.
So here's my question for you. Do you sit down and have the conversation with your husband before you're doing all this? Like saying, hey, honey, I wanted to let you know I'm cutting up all these vegetables for you. Feel free to snack on them. Is that a conversation you have, or you just kind of cut them up, leave them in the fridge, and hope for the best?
Ideally would be just to cut them up, because if you have that conversation with him, what's he get? His immediate feeling is going to be like, oh, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's trying to micromanage me and she's trying to tell me what to do. And she's, whatever. It could go sour.
Right.
If you notice that you're cutting them up and leaving them there and he's never touching them, then you yourself, what you should do is like he pops into the kitchen, take them out as if you're made them for yourself and eat them a little bit and say, help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And of course he will, because he's standing there. He's hungry.
Right.
There's nothing else there. There's no cookies out, So that would be the first tactic. If this goes on for many weeks and he's really not taking advantage of it at all, say, then you might give him, you might say, I'm really working so hard at trying to eat healthier and better. Put it on yourself. Mm-hmm. And, you might even say, sometimes when you've got a big bowl of ice cream and you're putting chocolate chips on top and Jimmy's and, sprinkling stuff, granola on top, it's a little hard for me when I'm eating my vegetables. Do you mind also just eating a few vegetables? I don't know. Maybe that's too sneaky, but I'm just saying you want to do it in a way that he won't take it personally. That's the key.
Right. So let's say you've cut the vegetables up and let's say he's snacking on them and let's say they're not rotting and he's eating them. Do you then move to, let's say, packing lunch for him to take to the office? Like, do you start to kind of implement more healthy eating habits in the process?
So that's a good question. The issue is of, for some women that would be enormous burden. Some kid, they've got 6 kids at home or they've got 2, they've got teenagers or whatever. And that would be in the too hard basket. Some women feel that's their obligation, that there's, let's say if both of them are working full time, that's one thing. If she is full-time stay-at-home mom, then it might be reasonable for her to be making lunches. That really, people have to figure out for themselves what works and what they're comfortable with and like that. But in terms of if she is willing to do that, and he is, it's a really gorgeous thing to do. There's a lot of ways to show your husband you love him and you care. Making his lunch is one of them, and so is making his dinner. I mean, that's just, it's a beautiful thing. And there were generations where that was the woman always packed the husband's lunch for the next day. She threw in some of the meat and the potatoes from the night before and put it in some kind of a thermos or whatever, so that's not unheard of. But I don't know if, I would alter his diet completely from one day to the next. It could be that, let's say he's bringing a sandwich that's very unhealthy, was slapped with mayonnaise and, big fat whatever. And it's really, not that great. Instead of putting a side of chips, if she put a side of, these,
pop chips.
Or popcorn or something, and then he also had cookies, but then also put like 4 carrots and 2 tomatoes. Baby tomatoes are unbelievably sweet and delicious.
Right. Or an apple.
They're very healthy.
You could put an apple in too.
Well, a cut up apple would probably be better. Even though it's going to turn brown and it's whatever. Okay. So, those kind of, you can slowly ease them into it. Not a bad idea to have articles around about health, or if you find a YouTube that's 3 minutes long that talks about the dangers of sugar. Say, oh my goodness, I just watched this thing. I'm gonna make those brownies you like. I'm gonna make them with half as much sugar. See if you still like them, and if the kids still like them. Try to talk them into it. But again, anything that it's such a loaded issue that anything you do that he takes personally, like you're too fat, you're not attractive or whatever, if there's a chance for him to take it badly, he probably will.
Right. So the flip side of that is you want to compliment him and encourage it, but in a way that's not derogatory.
That's exactly right. And that is the next thing for your listeners to write down, is to compliment the good eating habits and ignore the bad eating habits. Mm-hmm. So when you're making that compliment, you have to be very careful, because if you said, oh, I'm so proud of you that you chose the salmon over the prime rib, that's wonderful. That really makes him feel like you're the food police. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
You don't want to go there. Instead, after he orders a healthy option, say, oh, that sounds delicious. Mm-hmm. Or, another comment is, if you go to an event and there's cakes and candies and this and that, and he takes a Jell-O or he takes instead of a donut, or he takes I don't know, is that better? I don't know.
Yeah.
Jello's better than a donut. Yeah, you know, if he makes a good choice, say, wow, that's impressive. You know, those chocolate marzipan with almonds or whatever that looks so delicious. I'm impressed that you didn't take one. You know, or if there's big pieces of chocolate or something like that. So compliment, but do it in a way that he doesn't feel like you're the food police, and in a way that pretty much you're complimenting the good and ignoring the bad within every circumstance.
And not just again with food, like it's always like, oh, you know, great, thank you for taking out the garbage tonight, as opposed to, and then don't just say, but you didn't, you know,
like, we should do that every night.
Right. You didn't clean the garage or something like that.
Or like she said, you need to do that every night. Yeah, why don't you do that all the time? You know, exactly.
Yeah. I think we've all been very guilty of that. Is there any way to introduce exercise into this equation? Or again, is that something he needs to come to on his own?
So that's a terrific question. And it's these things, again, if you're going, this is the third thing for them to write down, is that you do it first. Yeah. So if your husband, it's been proved scientifically, and it just makes sense, you know, just think about it. If you're sitting on the couch, you know, eating bonbons, and your husband says, okay, I'm going out for a walk. Yeah. You know, I'll see you in a little while. Day after day, you would eventually start to walk. So a lot of women are very, very good at telling their husband what they should do, and then they don't actually do stuff themselves. Okay, like, hello, you know. So you should, you know, maybe they're naturally thin and he isn't, or something, you know. So but the best way for exercise is to actually get in action yourself. And if you go, and then you might say, you know, you might combine one of two things. You might say, listen, I feel like we don't have enough time to really connect and communicate. And I also feel like I don't get enough exercise. How would you like to go for a walk after dinner with me for 20 minutes? You know? So that would be the way, the ideal, the best practices for how to get him to exercise.
Excellent. Okay.
I mean, I think the other thing too is, you know, a lot of times people do get into this rut. You know, they have their date nights. But what are they doing on date night? Like almost a lot of the time, they're going out to eat at restaurants, which is nothing wrong with that. But to maybe sort of spice it up and do like some other different things, like go for a walk to a really nice place, or go out to a concert, or do different
even things that you used to do when you were dating, like you went bowling.
Right, like, exactly.
You know, you're not just sitting around eating. Exactly. So, yeah, that's a really good idea. I like that a lot.
Right. And I actually had a student who said that what she did is on their date night, they started Ubering to the restaurant and walking home.
Oh, that's a great idea. Right.
Just terrific. You know, sometimes, you know, she said it's like a 45-minute walk, which is just perfect. And you just after, you know, and you're talking and walking. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great ideas like that. It's terrific.
Right. Great. Well, Leah, thank you so much for joining us today. If you're looking to have an awesome marriage, this show, the Ladies Talk Show, is for you. Make sure to check it out every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to the ladiestalkshow.com, and you'll receive your free gifts from Leah and her team. Leah's also written a book called Marriage Secrets, and you can find that on her website as well. Also, I am on Instagram at Jill Scharfman, and I want to thank our engineer, Mike Casantini, at the Network Studios. Thank you so much, Leah. That was really great, helpful information. I'm sure we can all take and apply tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great. Thank you. Leah. And that is it for this episode of Let My People Eat. Please visit our website at letmypeopleeat.com and leave us a comment. Get in touch at our email at podcast@letmypeopleeat.com or call us at 317-659-0004. Post on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook with the hashtag #LetMyPeopleEatPodcast. If you like this show, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Tell your friends and family, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts.
And please remember that although we are certified professionals, this is not a medical advice podcast. No content, posts, or comments should be interpreted as professional guidance. Always speak to your own health practitioner about making the right life changes for you.
Until next time, I am Jill Scharfman.
And I'm Andrea Moskowitz.
Thanks for joining us.
And go in good health.